Welcome, everyone, to the wildly opinionated news hour on Todd's World. Carrie's here. How's it going,
Hello.
Carrie? I'm Todd, of
Great.
course, and we are happy to be back with you guys. Excited
Happy to be in Todd's world.
to peruse another week of whatever the hell is going on out there in
I
the world.
know. What is going on?
There's, it seems like there's lots going on all the time.
I'm relying on you, Todd. I'm in
You don't
survival
know what's
mode.
been going on?
I'm relying on you really at this point. The news I get is from Todd's world.
Yeah. Well, there's still all this tariff stuff going on,
hmm
there's just a lot of back and forth, a lot of international kind of angst, it seems like.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
Trump's blowing up everything. That's what the media would have us believe.
Yeah, that's what people think right now. That's for sure.
It's all Trump's fault. What's he doing in
Yeah.
Canada?
I don't
They're just
know.
sweet little Canadians.
Oh
They
my
make maple
gosh.
syrup and play hockey. Winter sports.
Well, we've got a new hey, was it before last week that that the new prime minister came in?
Yeah, I don't. He just, I think, it started. I think Trudeau just like left. I don't know, Friday or something. Mark Carney or
Okay.
something is the guy's name, the new guy.
Yep.
And I was like, somebody,
Yeah, he's trying to sound like all tough,
the Canadians kind of got out on X and were kind of mad at me this week because
oh, really?
they said something about they're being all whatever about Canada.
I was gonna say,
And I was like, or about their new prime minister tweeted, and I said, well, that should work out. I mean, you've been a Canadian for 3 weeks now, because he has like dual citizenship in the UK and
oh,
all over
does
the
he?
place. Yeah,
There you go.
it's the most ridiculous thing. It really looks like he was installed. I mean, nobody, who the hell's this guy?
Well, he
Kind
won
of comes.
89% of the vote, and I was curious. I'm like, I've never
I doubt
not
that.
I don't claim to follow Canadian politics closely, but
Mm-mm.
this guy wins 89% of the vote. I'm like, who's he running against? Like Kamala Harris?
89% of the vote. I mean, come on. Okay.
It's yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he
So
wasn't running against Trudeau. Trudeau
Mark
was
Carney can
out,
win
right?
89% of the vote, and that's perfectly fine. But
Okay,
Vladimir Putin winning 85% of the vote, he's just a dictator. That's
got
all.
it.
He's
Yeah.
just, it's all a rigged job.
Do you think that's legit?
I don't know.
Does Russia have free
I don't
elections?
know enough about Russia's like I think they could. I think Putin's probably fairly popular, and he could maybe have some crappy people running. Like, who's running against him? You know what I mean? What do they want to do
Yeah.
different? I don't know. Um,
I'd be pretty nervous to run against
Putin.
Vladimir.
I don't. I mean, I think Putin is just. He's certainly been vilified. Now, here's the
Sure.
question: does he deserve the vilification or not? Is he really that bad of a guy? I mean,
I think that remains to be seen. But what if you were the guy,
the guy,
person running against him?
and would I
Out there
want?
with your slogans and your campaign manager. I don't know. It seems like shaky ground.
I see what you're saying. I don't know. I don't know enough about Russian elections,
Yeah.
but
Okay,
hey,
so Carney, so
nobody
he's
knows
just
about our elections either. So
true. We like to think we do.
we
So
like to think.
Carney is new to Canada.
I mean, I think I
He's
can't figure it
running the
out
show.
because they're kind of trying to slide it under the radar. Like, oh no, he's been here for years, and it's just you get all this different stuff, and you're like, what are you even talking about? You know?
Right. So I wonder, yeah, I wonder if
You know
he's
what
just
I'd like to
talking
know?
a big game or is hopefully they're gonna work it
Well,
out,
what are they going to do? I mean, this is the thing about Canada. Like,
hmm
what are they going to do? I mean, that's my whole thing. Like,
hmm
they're they've got
They're
all these
gonna
things to say, but their their exports to us represent somewhere between 35-40% of their GDP. Our
okay.
exports to them represent like 1.2% of our GDP. I mean, it's just
You're like
like
we're
it's
good.
not a fair competition.
hmm
You know what I mean?
They can just boo us, boo our national anthem in a hockey game is
I
what they can
mean,
do.
I really think, what's stupid is that Trump had I need to find this clip because
Okay.
a bunch of my clips aren't showing up.
Oh no.
Again, why does this happen to me all the
I
time?
don't know. I was gonna say all the time. I'm starting to think it's operator error, but
It might be.
but I can't criticize you because I have no idea.
I just like try to get these clips and I'm like, where do they come from? I had a couple good Bill Maher clips. One really good Bill Maher clip.
Oh, I look forward to that.
And I know how much you like Bill Maher clips.
Well, I like them because I like them because he's a lib who isn't brainwashed, you know?
Yeah. Well, then maybe
So
not
he's
as.
kind of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, like even now, I can't get it to come up on my. Sorry, guys. I really wanted to go into some Bill Maher stuff. Let's take a quick break. Let me see if I can find it, Gary.
Okay,
We'll
cool.
come right back.
Yep.
All right, guys. We're back. We got things under control now, Gary. A little bit.
A
A
little
little
bit.
bit.
It's all we can ask.
The reason I wanted to bring in Bill Maher is he's got this girl on. Her name is Batya Ungar Sargon. Okay.
Okay.
Real pretty, like a Middle Eastern girl, whatever. She
Okay.
wrote a book, I think. I'm not really familiar with her, to be honest. But
No, it
this
doesn't
clip
sound familiar.
is really good because
Okay.
he's talking about she kind of gives Bill Maher an answer about manufacturing in the 70s and kind of looking back and
Hmm.
talks about tariffs.
Oh, okay.
And so it kind of gives just a kind of good spin on it.
I want to answer the question about manufacturing in the 70s.
Oh, I don't blame you. I'll go back to that too.
She's real pretty. I can't see what her book was.
So the reason people want to go back to the 70s is in the 70s, the largest share of our GDP was in the middle class. And that was not separate from the fact that 25% of our economy was in manufacturing.
Right, the largest share of our GDP
was in the middle class, the biggest chunk, the middle class,
most
people
of
who
what
were
was
middle
produced
income.
came from the middle, and now it comes from what? The rich.
Now, the top 20% controls over 50% of the GDP. Our economy was an upward funnel of wealth, and the largest share, which used to be in manufacturing, which gave a lot of working class people a middle class standard of living, now the largest share is in real estate and finance, meaning that asset-rich Americans are controlling over 50% of the GDP, and they have left the working class out of all of that prosperity that was
Whoa, I don't know what just happened.
the GDP, and they have left the working class out of all of that prosperity that was generated. That manufacturing is still being done. It's just being done in other countries. It is still
For wages we will not work for.
That's exactly right. You're right, Bill. That's what the tariffs are for. They
Boom.
are to make American workers more competitive in the global market. Why are we
Right.
accepting that there
No,
should be a race to the bottom? You know, China, what is its competitive advantage
That's a
over
good-
us? It's that it pays
good
slave
point.
wages. Why should we accept that? They're still manufacturing our PPE, our pharmaceuticals, our cars. They're making all that stuff. Trump says there are 5 industries that we cannot have any kind of national security without having a stake in them. Pharmaceuticals, lumber, steel, aluminum, and I forget what the 5th one was. But these are really
100%.
important that we have a stake in the manufacturing of the things that we need as a nation so that
Yeah.
when China decides that it wants to go to war against us, we're not relying on them for steel and aluminum
Yeah.
in order to fight them.
Okay, well, at least that's an answer.
I hear like the crowd, like the audience. This is on the
At
Bill Maher
least
show,
that's an
right?
answer. Yeah.
Well, I like how they're clapping, but it's kind of hesitant. It's like, oh, I don't think I support these things. She just said something smart that Trump said, but
That
I
makes a
feel like
lot
that
of
makes sense. And
sense.
you almost hear that thought process in the rate of their applause. So I wanted to tell you, I looked up quickly her book. This has got to be it. It's called Second Class: How the
Yes, that's
Elites,
what it's called.
yeah, how the elites betrayed America's working men and women.
Yeah.
Wow, that actually
She
sounds
sounds she
really.
sounds pretty sharp.
So she's an
Have never
American.
heard of her. Yeah, she seemed American just from Middle Eastern parents or whatever.
Right.
I mean, she doesn't have an
Wow.
accent or anything.
No, not at all. Like,
No.
and she's so that's really, I mean, you know what? She's saying everything that you and I have been saying,
Yeah.
but I didn't connect the dots with the tariffs because I haven't studied economics. I don't really understand how that happened, but wow, that's really interesting.
Well, yeah, she just gave Bill a good answer, and Bill's
Hmm.
just wasn't quite, you know what I mean?
He
He
didn't
was
know
like,
what to do with it.
okay. And that is exactly what Trump is I think after here.
Hmm.
Here's Trump talking about Canada.
Okay.
Just a little bit. You know how Trump is. He's always got something to say.
No, I'm not. Look, we've been ripped off for years, and we're not going to be ripped off anymore.
They asked him,
Hmm.
"Are you just kind of playing hardball on these tariffs? Like, is this just kind of a negotiating
Like a
stance?"
ploy. Hmm.
Yeah, that's what they're asking him. So that's what Trump's answering.
No, I'm not. Look, we've been ripped off for years, and we're not going to be ripped off anymore. No, I'm not going to bend at all. Aluminum or steel or cars. We're not going to bend. We've been ripped off as a country for many, many years. We've been subjected to costs that we shouldn't be subjected to. In the case of Canada, we're spending $200 billion a year to subsidize Canada. I love Canada. I love the people of Canada. I have many friends in Canada. The great one, Wayne Gretzky, the great. Hey, how good is Wayne Gretzky? He's the great one. But we have, I know many people from Canada that are good friends of mine. But, you know, the United States can't subsidize a country for $200 billion a year. We don't need their cars. We don't need their energy. We don't need their lumber. We don't need anything that they give. We do it because we want to be helpful. But it comes a point when you just can't do that. You have to run your own country. Mm-hmm. And to be honest with you, Canada only works as a state. It doesn't. We don't need anything they have. As a state, it would be one of the great states anywhere. This would be the most incredible country visually.
Don't you love the fact that he goes right into the state? Like, it only works as a state. I love it. I love it. Like, people think he's BSing. There's all these theories about Trump, and the thing about Trump is he's like, no, I'm telling you exactly what I'm doing. Like, this is what we've got to do.
Well, and it's funny. I think we forget that he says it like it is. He says what he means. Now, you know, does he have plans underneath some of these things? Sure, that we don't know. He's a smart,
Well, the
calculating
art
guy.
of the deal.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
He's not going to reveal everything. However, I think we forget when he's doing this. Well, he's probably doing this. It's like, no, he's pretty much saying what he's going to do.
Yeah.
Like he does what he says he's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Do you already have a beer?
I already have a beer, Carrie.
I am just ready for
Look
one.
at that, America.
I'm going to tell you in a minute when this coffee's done, I'm going to say I need a break and I'm going to go get one.
We'll take a quick break and you'll go get a beer. The audience doesn't care. It's like 2 seconds of a break. They're with us.
You are welcome to join us.
Thank you everyone for joining us today.
Yeah.
And we're so excited to have you. And the audience
I feel like our
growing,
audience is growing.
and it's exciting.
It really is.
We got the books out there. We'll talk about them a little later. Let's listen to the rest of Trump.
Okay.
But I just wanted to thank people for joining us.
More about
today.
Canada.
A little bit more about Canada.
Do we have any Canadians listening?
We probably do.
If you look at a map, they drew an artificial line right through it between Canada and the U.S. Just a straight artificial line. Somebody did it a long time ago.
Kind of how they do
many
countries.
decades ago, and
Called a border.
makes no sense. It's so perfect as a great and cherished state. Keeping "O Canada," the national anthem. I love it. I think it's great. Keep it. But it'll be for the state, one of our greatest states. Maybe our greatest state. But why should we subsidize another country for $200 billion? It costs us $200 billion a year. And again, we don't need their lumber. We don't need their energy. We have more than they do. We don't need anything. We don't need their cars. I'd much rather make the cars here. And there's not a thing that we need. Now, there'll be a little disruption, but it won't be very long. But they need us. We really don't need them. And we have to do this. I'm sorry. We have to.
You tell me. Is Trump serious about Canada?
Well, is he serious about it becoming a state, like a united state? Is that what
I
he's talking
don't.
about? Because that's
Yeah,
ridiculous. It's just ridiculous.
you don't like the idea.
I hate the idea. I'd rather we just like, not do business with Canada if we don't need it.
I Here's what I think he's doing. I think he's serious, and I do think he's kind of running art of the deal a little bit, in that I
Hmm.
think he's setting up a kind of an extreme like this would be an extreme position, as we want all of Canada, it's all 51st state, it's all whatever.
Hmm.
What I think is going to happen is Canada is comprised of, hell, I don't know what, 10, 12 provinces, who knows. But
Yeah.
you've got British Columbia, you've got Alberta, you've got Ontario, Quebec,
Hmm.
Newfoundland, Prince Edward Island, the Maritime, the Northern Territories, whatever.
Your Canada geography is pretty
Not
good there,
It's not
Todd.
horrible. I'm missing a little bit there, but you get the idea. You're in the right. So
Okay.
the most prosperous, or not the most populated
Hmm. Hmm.
states, or they're not states, they're provinces of
Hmm.
Canada,
Yeah.
are Ontario,
Hmm.
which also has Toronto, one of their biggest cities,
Oh, Toronto. Okay.
and then Quebec, which also has Montreal.
Okay.
So that if you could isolate those two provinces,
Hmm.
that's where most of Canada's liberal social bent comes from.
Okay,
So,
just like our big cities.
right, be like if you took New York and California, or what, you
Yep.
know what I mean, that kind of an idea.
Totally. Yeah.
So, what I think Trump is angling for is, I think we're going to put these tariffs on, and these tariffs, they're going to hurt us some, but they're not going to hurt us that much. I mean, we might feel it a little bit short term, but already you're seeing people talking about investing $1 billion. Apple's talking about bringing phone production to America. Just things that people have never talked about
Are they
because of
doing it in
tariffs.
Canada? Are- Okay,
No,
what I was going to say, what industry is like where would we feel it? I'm trying to think
lumber,
of
possibly,
lumber.
although
Okay.
Trump has already issued an executive order to free up American lumber production from
Hmm.
environmental regs and everything else. Um,
Okay.
so the question is, there could be a lag between, okay, these tariffs go on and it takes 6 months to ramp up domestic lumber production or whatever.
Okay.
But Trump's whole point is that in the end, this is gonna that we're gonna begin manufacturing again in the U.S. The whole thing. Like, these countries should pay a premium for
Hmm.
accessing the U.S. market,
Absolutely.
and that's his whole thing. Now, what I think he's going to do is these tariffs. If this tariff type war goes on, continues to actually happen,
Hmm.
it is going to kill Canada economically. Now,
Mm.
there's a lot of Canadians out there that are beating their chest, and we're going to do this, or we're going to. Mark Carney's like, we've got 3 airplanes, or whatever. But point is that this is going to start to hurt them. You're already getting in Alberta, I think it's a premier, is that what are in charge of the provinces? It's kind of like a governor. But
Okay.
Alberta already wants to join the US. They want to disengage from the Canadian government and join the US.
Really?
Now,
Okay. I'm gonna look at where this is.
that would be kind of out west over like Minnesota, North Dakota. You know what I mean? Kind of up
Okay.
in that area before you get to British Columbia, I think.
Okay.
Calgary, I think, is there. Be their big city.
Okay.
Um, so anyway, they already rural area, rural province. So what happens is these provinces start to get edgy because their economy is starting to be tanked, and then
Hmm.
Trump is here waving this golden ticket of American statehood and saying, all you have to do is get a vote of your people in your province, a majority vote, and if you want to join the United States, we'll take you in. And it doesn't
Wow.
matter what Canada wants to do because they don't have much of an army. We'll send our people up if that's what you want. You want to take a break quick? Go grab
No,
your.
sorry.
Well, you can go grab a
Sorry.
drink.
No, it's good. I'm not there
Okay.
yet.
You're not
I
there
just
yet.
had a shocking sight in front of me.
I saw that you did, and I was like, oh, what's going on with her?
Sorry about that. So, what do you think the odds of that are? And
Well, here's what I
no,
think. I think Trump
okay.
is going to try to pick off all of the Canadian provinces except Ontario and Quebec and say, all right, you're Canada. And then that gains us all of these natural resources,
Mm-hmm.
all of this Arctic border and West Coast area, and even land on the Atlantic right next to Greenland. And it kind of isolates. I mean, Canada still has obviously frontage on the Atlantic Ocean and everything,
Mm-hmm. Right.
and the Great Lakes and everything else, St. Lawrence River, but it kind of is going to isolate that leftist socialist of Canada. It's like almost what we could do if we could take and we could be like, what if we just isolated California or
Right.
whatever? You know
Okay.
what I mean?
So, but are those near each other at all? Like I want right in
They're
front
right
of me
next to
right
each
now.
other.
They are.
Ontario, of course, I'm in Michigan. Ontario is kind of around Michigan,
Uh-huh.
and then right next to Ontario is Quebec.
Okay. Got
And
it.
then from Quebec, you get into like Newfoundland and Prince Edward Island and stuff out there, kind of
Okay. What about okay, Ontario and Quebec. What about the Montreal and what's the other one that you said?
Toronto,
Montreal was part of something else. Hmm?
Quebec,
Oh, okay. Is Quebec the province or the city?
the province.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Quebec speaks French. They're a
Yeah.
French-speaking province. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you've ever driven through
Right.
Quebec, there are French signs all over. It's
Right.
like
Right.
it's really kind of strange.
Okay, but they're near each other.
They're right next to each other.
We're going to say the
They share a
exclusion,
board. They share a big border.
the Canadian exclusion,
Yeah.
the lib-centered, whatever. It's all near each other. So you think that Trump will just be like, fine, you be Canada.
Yeah.
Okay, so and I'm imagining
And the
our
most
resources though having to cover all of that land. I don't like it. I feel like it's too big. It's too much to manage. We're
well, there
big
already
enough.
aren't that many people in any of those places.
Yeah, but okay. There
And
aren't
we're
people, but there's
already covering them
space.
militarily. We
But
got
there's
Alaska up there.
but there's space the space that you have to cover. And I think too, Canada's been like one of the doors through which, China's sending people, Middle East is sending dangerous people over our borders.
Yeah.
And I don't like it opening up that much more. I think that's a lot to monitor that.
Yeah. I don't know. But I guess the question is, would you rather have it completely unmonitored like it is now? In fact, maybe even have the Canadian government actually working with the Chinese, which we think that they have for winter
Right.
trainings and things like that. Or would you rather feel like America's stretched a little thinner, but at least we're trying on those
Okay.
border?
Yeah,
You know what
that's
I mean?
fair. That's fair.
At least we're trying to stop them all up and
Hmm.
down the coast, you know?
It's pretty crazy. Can you imagine that?
That's what I think is going to happen. And then I think he's going to get Greenland. But I do think that the biggest problem out there, in fact, I heard if people want to, I know that some of our listeners also listen to Tucker Carlson, of course.
Hmm.
Been told that it's us and Tucker, right? That was, I think Mike who said that. Anyway,
Oh yeah, someone said I listened to Tucker
yeah.
and you guys. I love that.
And Tucker had on General Douglas McGregor, who who would be he's been involved in the military and the Defense Department and everything else. He's retired now, but
Hmm.
commentator, that kind of thing. And
Okay.
I happened to listen to it yesterday. It was really good, worth listening to. And he talked about how our biggest security threat the that America faces is completely Mexico on every level.
Okay.
Because the cartels down there,
Drugs and crime. Yeah.
the cartel has Javelin missiles on the border. You know where they got them from? Ukraine. Half of the stuff we sent to Ukraine was sold on the black market, and a lot of it came back to the cartels. So they have American military equipment, like high-tech military equipment, sitting on our border.
Really?
And that's why the cartel, I
How
just
do
read something from the
how do we know
cartels this
this?
week.
This is wild.
Oh, none of this is really even in question. They know what's going on. That's
This
why
is
Trump's been calling
wild.
for a complete audit of whatever has been all the money that was sent to Ukraine and everything else, because
Yeah.
it's just so much of it disappeared off the top. All this money, all this equipment, they sold it all. It's possible that 75% of what we shipped over there was sold on the black market,
Wow.
and it's just
And now threatening us.
yeah, and a lot of it ended up with the cartels, and they are. I mean, they
Hmm.
aren't. I read something from one of the cartel members. I don't know, member leader, whatever, talking
Yeah.
about how we aren't scared of the U.S. They can bring whatever agencies they want over here. We have the same weapons they do,
Damn.
and and basically what Douglas McGregor was saying is that the all of Mexico
Hmm.
is basically a cartel. It's an organized crime state. There's a little bit of Mexico City where the Mexican government has some control, and then you get beyond that, and it's the Wild West. Cartels
It's the
control
Wild
everything.
West.
Yeah.
Wow. Well,
So that's what we need to clean up.
okay. Hmm.
The
Well, I feel
fact
like that's on Trump's agenda, isn't it? He's talked about Mexico.
he's designated the cartels terrorist states. He's so he's got
Yeah.
all the tools to go after them. The question is how many of them are here, which we have
Hmm.
no idea because Biden let in millions and millions and millions of illegal aliens. So
True.
we have Chinese military members here. We have cartel, all these cells, you know what I mean? And nobody
Hmm.
really knows
Right.
where everything's at, I don't think. So it's
It's
scary. From
crazy.
that perspective, it's a little scary.
Hmm.
But yeah, I do think that Trump is he's on it. I mean,
I know. I mean, he's definitely, I hope he's got, people working on this and he can keep his eye on the ball. That man's got to get into election integrity before it's too late.
he's got a lot he's got to get into. I mean, I look at this
Hmm.
stuff, I'm frustrated with the DOJ and Pam Bondi, quite
Yeah.
honestly.
Can you go into that a little bit? Because you said something, and I don't remember now if you just told me or if
I
you
think
said
I
it
might have
last
been
week.
texting you
You might
about
have
it
texted
this
me.
week.
Yeah, that you just think that they're beyond repair, the FBI and the DOJ.
I
And
do.
I'm like, that's
But I
unfortunate.
thought that. I mean, yeah, I've been pretty consistent on that.
But
I
I
haven't
mean,
ever thought that we could fix them.
but Cash
Maybe
Patel
other
was
people have.
was an exciting pick
Hmm.
for some reason. If it's beyond saving, then it wouldn't matter. So you must have had a glimmer of hope on some level.
Well, I mean, Trump clearly, well, either he disagrees with me or he just thinks that we can't do anything else right now. To shut
Okay.
him down is not practical, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
You
Okay.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. And that
Mm-hmm.
this is the best we can do is try to clean them up. I just
Okay.
don't. I think they're past cleaning up. Here's Pam Bondi talking about Trump's mission that he kind of gave her.
President Trump's mission was very clear. His directive was make America safe again. That's what we're going to do. No more weaponization. We're going to go back to fighting basic crime, getting these cartels out of our country by securing our borders, prosecuting the worst of the worst, seizing the drugs, which is what President Trump has directed us to do since the second he's been in office, and lock up the violent criminals as long as we can behind bars
Okay.
or seek the death penalty. And that's what we've been doing. You know, we've signed death warrants. We've to seek the death penalty since he's been in office. It's not business as usual. We are going back to the basics, fighting violent crime. And taking these drugs off the street is the main component of keeping our kids safe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I
What
like
do
that summary. It's a good summary.
you feel
And
good
you
about that?
well, sure, but what don't you like about that, or what futility do you see in her mission?
I was looking for a
I mean, it can't be perfect, but
no, nothing's perfect, of course.
right.
And I understand that. But I do have I heard that. I heard that clip, obviously, saved it. And I thought we could come back to that clip and we could find that what she's saying without saying it is that none of the deep state is going to be prosecuted.
I was going to say,
We're
like, it
not
was
going to
a
go
little bit
after
of
any of this election stuff because
a little
that's
bit of a cop out.
weaponization.
Like, this is our focus, nothing
We got to
else.
get things cleaned up from, and I just talked about how dangerous
Mm-hmm.
the cartels are. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not some Pollyanna when it
Yep.
comes to the cartels. That was part of the reason I brought that up first. But the fact of the matter is that these people are out to destroy our country. They will destroy our country. And if we don't get a handle on it, if people do not actually go to jail, then I just
Are
I
you
don't
talking
think.
about the cartel, or you're talking about
Nope, I'm
participants in
talking
the deep
about
state?
the deep state. I'm talking about our
Okay.
own politicians who have
Yep.
laundered money, who have broken
Yeah.
laws. All of this, it has
Undermining
to be dealt
everything.
with.
Yeah.
And when I listened to that, I saw something this week that said in however long it's been, not that she's been there forever, she's only been there 3 or 4 weeks since she was
Sure.
confirmed, but there was a stat that said there was 0 Epstein file names. There's been nothing on the JFK files, but she's done 30 Fox News interviews. I just it all through Trump's first term, he was constantly frustrated by the FBI and the DOJ.
Yep.
I have a hard time believing this is gonna. I just think we're gonna look back and we're gonna say, nope, Cash Patel is amazing, and it doesn't matter how amazing he is,
It doesn't
because
matter.
all the king's horses and all the king's men can't put it together again.
Okay.
So,
Can I offer an optimistic
yes,
hope?
I'd like to hear some optimism on it.
Just a hope. This is based on nothing other than my wishful thinking.
Your good old
But,
fashioned Catholic hope.
well, no, remember we were just talking about Trump saying what he's really transparent about what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
But he's also, you know, he knows the art of the deal, and this isn't really a deal, but he's not going to share absolutely everything. So, can we just hope that Pam Bondi making that statement is just going to perhaps give the deep state a moment to breathe, like, oh, okay, this is what they're focusing on. Because if you show all your cards all the time, obviously he's not going to be able to accomplish anything with the deep state. Taking down members of the deep state is going to be really, really tricky. They're all entrenched, they're connected, and they're in DC, many
Right.
of them. So maybe she's just not saying that they're working on that, but they are.
We
What
can
do you
hope.
think?
Well, I
We
mean,
can hope.
they claim that they are working on it,
Okay.
but like that's what I had said. 30 Fox News interviews, 0 indictments of corrupt corporate officials,
Mm.
0 indictments against COVID tyranny,
Ugh.
0 indictments against any 2020 election fraud, and 0 names on any Epstein clients or handlers. People are
Hmm.
like, well, they've got to build an airtight case. It's going to take a long time. Now, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Didn't they build 2 airtight cases already?
Yeah.
And as part of those airtight cases, wouldn't we know who in the hell did they sell these kids to?
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't we have to know that?
So you said 2 people are in jail.
Well,
Ghislaine
one's dead,
Maxwell.
but yeah,
Oh, okay. And him. Are you
Epstein,
counting
he got
Epstein?
Epstein. Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
he
I forgot
I'm,
about
I'm
that.
not even sure. He might not have even gone to trial. Maybe he didn't.
No. No, he didn't.
He never made it to trial.
Nope.
So we had one trial, and Ghislaine Maxwell is
Ghislaine.
life
Yep.
in Ghislaine, whatever her name is. She's life in prison,
Yeah.
and we're supposed to believe that this trial was such a farce that nobody even had to prove that she actually trafficked anybody. Like there was no
Yeah.
victims. What?
Right.
There was no people to take the victim. What? I'm so confused. Like this should be easy. Should be like, well, when she went to trial, here's the specific 12 people that we
Mhm.
know she trafficked to.
Yep.
Okay, that's fine. Just tell us who those people are.
Right.
I mean, why are we protecting them?
I don't
What
know.
possible
Who?
good
Yeah.
thing could come out of protecting
And
these people?
who's protecting them?
Right. Instead, Pam Bondi wants us to believe that
Yeah.
the SDNY, which would be the FBI office in New York, Southern District of New
Okay.
York,
All right.
they they wouldn't give her any files. They stonewalled everything. Okay, all right, maybe they stonewalled everything. And then finally, when she gave them her final ultimatum,
Mm-hmm.
an entire truckload of documents showed up to the Washington FBI, the DOJ, and now Kash Patel has to go through this entire truckload of documents and figure everything out. And I think
You think it'd be in a red folder on the top,
I'm not sure we need a whole truckload of
the
documents.
list of the names, right?
How about a few names, Pam?
It'd be nice.
Like, I mean, do we not have public trials anymore? Is that not why? And yet,
I
God
know.
forbid, Trump doesn't bend over backwards to do whatever any little tin pot district court judge in the world says the second that little judge says it.
Yep.
But it's just okay, you know? So yeah, I have some frustrations, and I do think
Yeah.
I don't disagree that Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, even we got Dan Bongino, right? Why would Bongino
right.
leave his successful show that's taken him as long as it has to build it and everything else to go in and be the deputy director of the FBI if I'm right and there's really no chance of fixing it? Well, he wouldn't. So clearly he doesn't agree with me, right?
I forgot about his appointment, and I'm glad you brought it up because I'm really excited about that.
I mean, he must believe he can make a difference.
Sure.
He's
But
not doing it for the money. He's making way less money.
true, but I'll say this. If Donald J. Trump came and said, "Hey Todd, I want you to be the deputy director of the FBI."
No, no.
What?
Burn it down. If you want me to be the director of something, let me be the director of the guys with the backhoes that tear the buildings down and then salt the earth. That's what I'll do for you, Trump. But no, I'm not going to try to fix the unfixable because I'm not in the habit of lining up headfirst into a brick wall and banging my head against it for 10 hours a day. So
Well,
I
don't know. Okay, well then maybe he sees a chance.
He does, no doubt. I just look down the road and I see 4 years down the road seeing that was the one that and see that comes down to the courts too.
Okay.
And so we've got these courts out there that are making all these decisions, these little district courts, right? Like we get a district court, these tiny little district courts. They're not even circuit courts. They're little district courts within these states with these liberal judges who try to tell the executive that he can't fire people. Like, what? Excuse me? So what do you think Trump should do about these judges? Because if he goes the route of a normal Republican president that we've always known for the last however long we've been alive, if he does that, they will ensure that the process eats up all of their time, all of their energy, and nothing gets done, and they will be the last line of defense for the globalist deep state. So what are the other options, you think?
I mean, well, how long can it take to move it through? I guess could take a while.
You absolutely can. The Supreme Court can fast track things, but then they also often don't. And they like it to go through the appeals process, and they liked it to go through this and that. And they put that's what they're doing. They put these injunctions on them. So they're like, no, you can't. You have to hire all these people back until this winds its way through for 3 years.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Wow. I'd like it if it didn't go to the Supreme Court, but went to like the state, state courts.
Well, it's got to go up through the federal.
But all these things need to stop bogging down the Supreme Court with every little thing.
But I mean, what do you think? Do you think that when they tell him he's got to hire back, I don't remember how many people there were. There was a law firm that was actively involved in the weaponization of justice against Trump, and Trump banned them from federal buildings, and he stripped all their security clearances. And one of these little district court judges said, no, you can't do that. You have to give them back. Now, what would you do if you were Trump? You think that Trump should abide by that order?
Where is this little district court? Is this hypothetical?
I can't remember.
Okay.
No, it's true. I can't remember. There's so many different ones. There have been, I think, 15 or 20 injunctions in the last 30 days,
Wow.
which
Okay.
would represent about the whole of Biden's term. Well,
So they're
Biden,
like
the
little
auto pen's term.
they're like little little ants at his ankles is what's happening.
Well, but I mean, if he abides by what they say, if he abides by what we've always considered to be the letter of the law,
Mm-hmm.
then he'll just cave and cave and cave and hope maybe in 2 or 3 years the Supreme Court will agree with him. Do you think that's what he should do? Do you
In
think that's what the
principle,
people voted for?
in principle. Mm. Todd, quit putting me on the hot seat. So, you know, we talk about law, no one's above the law, and here's what I see. If he does what he wants to do and he steps on the ants,
Mhm.
then everyone opposed to him is that they're just going to fixate on that and say he ignored the courts. He thinks he's above the law. He's an evil dictator. This is a constitutional crisis. Like
Absolutely.
that's what they'll say.
Right.
So I don't know. There has to be option. There has to be door C, and I don't know what that is, but
You just feel like there's got to be some better options.
there has to be a better way. There has to be a way for him to navigate it without putting himself in that position because it's a lose,
The
it's
position of what?
to be able to move without just ignoring the courts.
Oh, you think ignoring the courts is not the way to go?
No, I think that the media and his opposition, Democrats, will just fixate on it and will never be able to get past the fact that he, you know, is above the law and it's going to turn into a constitutional crisis.
So
They'll never ever let him get past that.
let me
He
tell
has to
you
come
that
up with a way that looks proper in some way.
but that's not gonna. I mean,
Just saying.
the what you're surmising is that if only he jumps through a couple of hoops, well, then the media and the left will leave him alone, and that's there's no way that's going to happen. I mean, they've proven that.
No, they're not going to leave him alone, but he can't load the guns for them with actions like that.
You don't think so?
No.
Okay. Two. You know what I was playing around. Lauren was talking to me. Have you done anything with AI at all? You know, AI, it's all the talk of everything, right?
Have I?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I haven't really done much with it. So Lauren's telling me about it last night.
Okay.
She's like, "Oh yeah, it's this AI, whatever." And then I'd seen on X Jordan Peterson's daughter, Michaela Peterson, talking about how Grok 3 is the new AI on X. She's like, it saves you like weeks of research time in an hour, whatever. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't
Yep.
used it much. So this
Right.
morning I was interested and I said, so I asked Grok, I was just curious. I thought, I'll try some of this research thing. So I asked Brock, has a U.S. president ever ignored a federal court decision? Now, of course, I knew that they had. And the two they brought up were the two that you would have expected. Andrew Jackson,
Oh, Jackson, that's what it was.
who ignored the Supreme Court's ruling in Worcester
Worcester, yes. Good
versus
job.
Georgia.
Okay.
And basically, they said that Georgia, the state of Georgia couldn't decide to move Indians. Only the federal government could do that.
Okay.
And Andrew Jackson declined to enforce that decision, and the Indians were moved anyway. And then you had Trail of Tears and the whole thing,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
That was one. But the other one I think is actually even bigger. Another example is Abraham Lincoln during the
Mm-hmm.
Civil War.
Yeah.
In 1861, Chief Justice Roger Taney issued a writ of habeas corpus in Ex parte Merryman, challenging Lincoln's suspension of habeas corpus amid the war. Taney ruled that only Congress, not the president, had the authority to suspend it. So constitutionally, only Congress could suspend habeas corpus. Lincoln ignored the ruling, arguing that wartime necessity justified his actions to preserve the Union. He continued to suspend habeas corpus and detain suspected Confederate sympathizers without trial. What habeas corpus is, just to give people, habeas corpus is the legal principle and court order that protects individuals from unlawful or indefinite detention.
Mm-hmm.
That means they have to get you in front of a judge and actually give them a reason for why they're holding you.
Mm-hmm.
And Lincoln suspended that.
Okay.
So if he thought you were a sympathizer of the Confederates, he'd throw you in jail. You'd never see a judge, and you'd just sit there
indefinitely.
till the war ended.
Okay.
And there were journalists who did.
Okay.
So, and yet, Abraham Lincoln is
Mm-hmm.
lionized as one of our greatest presidents.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, did the end justify the means, you think, with Lincoln? He saved the Union.
Right. Right.
Was he right? I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe.
These are the
Yeah.
and what you're talking about with Trump isn't even that necessarily. I mean, you're
No,
talking
it's
about
not. Oh yeah, no, it's not.
you're talking
not
about
that big.
stripping a law firm of its access to federal buildings and its security clearances.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's executive function, right?
Sure. It's
You're
pretty
talking
small.
about firing executive, firing federal workers that are under the umbrella of the executive branch,
Mm-hmm.
right? And now these courts are coming in saying, no, you can't fire them. No, you can't trim the swamp. Why?
Todd,
Well,
in
because we're the judges and we decide what you can do and what you can't.
Mm-hmm. In 2025, what Abraham Lincoln did, suspending habeas corpus, sounds like a constitutional crisis.
I know it was. They thought it was at the time.
Did they?
Yes, it wasn't like everybody was going along with Lincoln. I mean, Lincoln was up until
It was
he put Grant in
controversial.
right before the I think it was the election of 64 or something.
Okay.
Up until he got Grant in and actually got a couple victories, it
Mhm.
didn't look like he was going to win re-election.
Okay.
So, I mean, he wasn't by any stretch beloved. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I understand that in hindsight, and a lot of things change, and that
Sure.
there was
It's
obviously
been a
a lot
very
of
long
people,
time.
right? But
He's viewed, yeah, I mean, he's viewed as the man who ended slavery in America,
Right.
is how he's viewed now. Whether that's accurate or not,
well, we fought the Civil War, and we got,
Yeah,
I
I'm
mean,
just
he
saying,
deserves
like,
some, right.
yep.
So here's the question:
Okay.
if we have three co-equal branches of government,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
We have the executive branch, which is the president.
Mm-hmm.
We have the legislative branch, Congress, the U.S. House and Senate,
Yeah.
and we have the judicial branch,
Right.
which is the federal judiciary, right?
Mm-hmm.
Founders viewed the judiciary as the weakest branch because,
Okay.
you know why? You know why? We've talked about this. Come on, Carrie.
Well, I remember us talking about it, but I can't remember why they felt like it was the weakest.
Because the executive has an army to enforce his decisions.
Oh, yes. Okay.
And Congress has the power of the purse, so they have the power to fund or not fund expenditures
Got it.
by said army.
Okay.
So theoretically, you can have your army. We'll cut off the purse strings, and then
Okay.
so that's why they looked at. But the judicial branch doesn't have anything. It doesn't have anything. No way to enforce it. It relies solely on the other branches
Mm-hmm.
to acknowledge their authority in certain things.
Yes.
So if
Okay.
if the judicial branch wildly oversteps its bounds.
Mm-hmm.
Now
Well, and we're not talking about the federal. We're now talking about a little district court somewhere.
right. But this is it is kind of endemic across, maybe not with the Supreme Court, but any place down from there, there's an endemic problem all across federal courts that these lifetime unelected jurists think that they have more power than the president. They think they're king. They think they can tell the president what to do.
Got it. Okay.
Now, on the one side, how can you deal with that? Well, the legislative branch,
Mm-hmm.
if they feel like the judiciary is encroaching on their power,
Mm-hmm.
they can impeach judges.
Okay.
Now, I can't recall the last time we did that. I should have asked Grok that.
Right. I was going to say
I don't recall.
we were talking about that. And sorry, side note, what is the name of this AI resource on X?
Grok. Like if you go
Like
down to the bottom, you got like a
Croc with a
home.
G?
Yeah,
Croc.
GROK.
Oh, okay.
And it'll say that
GROK.
it's beta, but it's Grok 3. It's got some cool. I haven't played around with it, but like
Yeah,
Kid
it's
Rock
pretty cool.
posted a video and he was playing with it because they have what's called beast mode, and
Yeah.
it's just like cussing you out and being crazy, inappropriate, and like wild.
Hmm.
Elon programmed that in.
That's funny.
So Kid Rock was having some fun with that. Speaking of
Love
Kid
it.
Rock,
Yes.
we had a at my house here. We talked last week about how my kids were in the Little Mermaid,
The
the musical,
musical.
right?
You have so much fun
Oh, it's great.
at the end.
And yeah, it was the last performance was best performance. But anyway, this last week, which was, let's see, today's Saturday, so Thursday evening,
Hmm.
Kate had, well, Kate and Allie both had a cast party here at our house, and there was
Nice.
like 42 high school kids
Oh my gosh.
on
What
and
a
around the
blast.
deck, the house, all over the place. We had a
What
big
a
fire
blast.
going, and it was fun. Actually, I will say this. And Nikki did some to clean up, but those kids actually cleaned up some. And I got up the next morning,
Oh,
and
nice.
we've had parties of sorts where we'd have had half as many kids here, and the place is just destroyed. And this thing was clean, and I'm like, look at these theater kids.
Go
They're
theater
such good
kids.
kids.
So nice.
But
I love it.
I had a point with these theater kids.
We were talking about AI and Kid Rock.
Kid Rock, yeah. So Kate's out there, and Kate's running the speaker, so she's
Okay.
running the sound. And but then she was upstairs. I noticed. I came out. I kept coming out, kind of checking on the fire. Otherwise, Nikki and I were pretty much camped on like the front porch where we're just
Okay.
chilling.
Letting them be.
But I would come out back and
Aw.
I would be checking the fire, making sure it was going. Everything was good. And so I come out and Kid Rock's on. Great Kid Rock song. Like it was like Cowboy or I don't remember. It was one of the classics.
Nice.
Kate's playing it. And I'm asking these kids, but she wasn't down there. And I'm asking these kids, I'm like, do you know who this is? And they're like, no. I said, do you know who Kid Rock is? And they're like, I feel like I've heard of him. And I'm like, oh my God, your parents have failed you.
I was gonna say Kid Rock is like old to them. Isn't that wild?
They don't even know. Yeah,
I
it's
view Kid
weird.
Rock as so like current,
I
and
know.
but he's been around for a while.
I
That
thought that was
funny.
kind of funny.
Oh my gosh.
But anyway, that Grok 3 is what
Yeah.
I played around with, and we'll play around with a little bit more. But here's the question. So we
Hmm.
talked about what if the judicial branch overreach,
Yep.
if they overreach, well, the legislative branch has something they can do. They have a way that they can cure that, right?
Okay.
Or they
Hmm.
can at least kind of take their power back, whatever.
Hmm.
What's the executive's equivalent of that, do you think?
I'm not sure, but I was gonna say, I'm glad that you just worded it the way you did, because here my concern is if the legislative branch, and its pieces are doing their job, I don't think that the president should just ignore it. But you're talking about overreach, and I think that that's door number three.
See, what you're looking at is you're saying, well, if he just ignores what they say,
Hmm.
then we're in a constitutional crisis. And what I think is the fact that they overstepped has already caused the constitutional crisis.
Yes, thank
His
you.
answer to that, I think his remedy is
Yep.
okay, I'm ignoring you.
Yeah, exactly. So the overreach is the problem. And by the way, I want to clarify, I am not calling it a constitutional
No,
crisis.
no, I know you're
I'm
not. You're
saying that
saying what
that's
they
what
would
the
say, and you're 100.
Democrats would
They
say.
already are. So
Oh, I
it's not
know.
like you're
Well,
wrong.
they
You're
they just
100%
think a
right.
Trump presidency is a
Yeah,
constitutional crisis.
it's a
They're like,
world
he's a
crisis.
constitution. I
It's
know.
worse than global warming.
It's oh my gosh. I mean, we're supposed to be underwater 5 years ago in Florida, but we're swimming. We got the floaties
Trump's
on.
going to make sure he opened up rivers in California. They're already getting more water. He's trying to drown them
Did he?
already.
Did he do it?
Yeah, remember
Are you
when they had
being
those fires?
did
He
he do
filled up
it?
all, yeah, he just federally mandated that they open everything and they fill all the reservoirs. And they got
Good.
all kinds of water.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay, so yes, so just clarification. But no, I
Yes.
think you're right. I think if there's overreach, if they're not just doing their jobs, but they're doing their jobs poorly, his only recourse is to, I guess, ignore.
Yeah.
Or impeach. He can't impeach. Can
He can impeach. Only
yeah.
Congress can impeach. It'd be nice if Congress would do their job, but man, that's asking an awful lot of this
Yeah.
Congress.
It would be nice if those two branches would unite and say, you know what? This court is overreaching.
But
This judge is out of
I think
line.
that they will, in the fact
Censure him or
that
something.
I mean the legislature, because they're controlled by Republicans, they are backing Trump.
Good.
So whether or not they impeach or
Praise
not,
God.
I
Hmm.
mean, you really can make the argument. I think that Trump's argument is his best argument, and it doesn't matter what he does because the hue and cry all over the land by the leftists and the press and the media is going to be that it's constitutional crisis and he's a dictator and
Absolutely.
he's a they already say all that. So, but I
And
think
he's going
Trump
to take away Social Security. Did you hear? Oh
I
my
think Trump
gosh.
needs to make his stand and say, listen, and he can do it. He can have Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House. He can have John Thune, the majority leader in the Senate. He can have him
Hmm.
standing right next to him, and he can say, listen, I've got two branches. The legislative branch is agreeing with me, and they're on my side. They're saying full speed ahead.
Yep.
We're ignoring the judicial branch because you know what? 2 out of 3 wins. And that to me is at least a reasonable position.
Sure. I mean,
So
you're going to have to get some Americans, I don't know, what, like 20? What's the percentage opposed to Trump? Like
well, we
because
have
they're
no idea what the real percentage is because they've
let's
been
say
cheating for so long. But let's
let's
say
say
it's
it's 30. Let's say it's
35.
30%.
I don't
Okay.
know, whatever. A
35%.
third.
35% are going to need a civics lesson. They should just go watch some Schoolhouse Rock.
Pull up
Watch some.
some Hillsdale online courses. They have like a
There you
whole
go.
course on the Constitution, on the Supreme
Yeah,
Court, on the legislative branch. Oh, they're so good.
but they're
That's
good,
true. It
but I
might be a
don't know
little
that
much for the average.
I don't know that they would trust those. I'm just saying Schoolhouse Rock, some super basic
Yeah. You're
explaining the
right.
three
The old
branches of the government.
schoolhouse rock where they got like the dancing
Yeah,
Declaration of
little
Independence.
cartoons and they describe what the executive and I
That
mean,
is
I
what
love it.
that's when culture started going downhill when we got rid of Schoolhouse Rock.
I know because people didn't know.
You're right.
We all know the preamble. It's very moving. Everyone else is like, the what? Anyway.
So what I think is Trump needs to ignore,
Hmm.
and I'm using some terms. These are the terms that might make people a little uncomfortable. I think he needs to break the federal judiciary. Now, what does that mean? Well, I don't know, but I think break its power. It's had something of a stranglehold over both the legislative and the executive branch
Hmm.
that both branches have allowed. That
Yeah,
only happens if they allow it.
right.
And I think now's the time to break that stranglehold. I even think that Trump could bring in John Roberts, Supreme Court,
Okay.
the
Yeah.
Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and say, listen, here's what you're dealing with. And they're going to scream constitutional crisis. There's going to be all of these problems. I'm going to ignore it either way. If you want, I'll give you a little time to yank some of these and correct some of this.
Yep.
And if you feel like that's going to save the court's reputation a little, and Roberts really cares about that. He really cares about the court's reputation.
As he should.
So the breaking of the judiciary to whatever extent
Hmm.
that would hurt
And
John Roberts' soul.
well, maybe so you're saying maybe is this pure speculation? I mean, like him
Yes,
giving him a chance to clean house rather than break, he could clean house instead of break it,
right, he could,
maybe with
but
John
it'd
Roberts
have to
help.
be John Roberts that was cleaning house, and
Okay.
uh, uh,
And can he do it?
no,
Can he yank these people? The
uh,
judges?
really. I
Okay.
mean, there have been some
So,
times I don't have the I'm not quick enough on the history, but there was times where the president has surrounded the Supreme Court with military and not let them out and things like that.
oh,
But I
dang.
can't remember exactly what those were and the whole thing. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I don't think it was the big ones. Like I don't think it was Lincoln and I don't think it was Jackson. So I think they were more minor, although they weren't perceived to be minor at the time,
Oh, I'm
things.
sure not.
But yeah, I mean that's what happened.
Our
So
press today would be calling that a constitutional crisis.
they, I just think
Interesting. Hmm.
at whatever he does, he needs to ignore him. How he
Yeah.
presents that, I mean, Trump's the greatest politician of our age, of our era, and He's
Well, and
more
it's
than capable of dealing
yeah,
with whatever the fallout is and however he has to deal with it. But they cannot let these unelected jurists stop the mandate of the American people under any circumstances.
absolutely not.
You know what I
But I
mean?
love how you called him the greatest politician. He's so not a politician.
I know. Well, maybe you say
Why
greatest
he's so
political
good.
leader. I don't know.
Yeah, there you go.
Although you say he's not a politician, but if you look at him and you watch him, his retail politics skills,
By trade, he's not a
no, by trade he's
politician.
not. But you
Yeah.
watch him with people, and this is what you hear people say, and some people don't get it, but his retail politics skills, he's on a level that we haven't seen. He's on another level than Clinton. And Clinton was
Yeah.
good. Reagan was good.
Mm-hmm.
Trump is something else with his
Yeah.
retail politics.
The you call it retail politics. Is that just his like one-on-one? His
Yeah,
like
it's like getting with people and like cutting deals and like just all the nitty gritty and the like, because he'll be one who he'll call people. You look at Marco Rubio.
hmm
Now, I've said this on Twitter. I said, who is this? Because he's huge, strong, mega Trump guy, Secretary of State right now, and he is 100% bought into everything Trump says, the whole Trump
hmm
agenda, exactly like you'd want a Secretary of State to be.
Yep.
And I'm like, who is this guy? And what we do with little Marco?
Oh, right. I know. Who was
Think
like
about
a
little
little
Marco
unsure, a little unsure
and
of him.
Trump just destroyed him. And yet,
Yeah.
look at him now. They're friends. Marco,
hmm
I have to say he has been great as a Secretary of State.
He
I thought he was
has.
a little bit of a squish before, but he hasn't been in
He's
this role so far.
he's a
He has
smart
been
guy.
good.
He's really smart. The thing I like about Rubio is he's not an aggressor. He just uses his intellect and his well-spokenness, to persuade. So when he's got the right argument going, you
Yeah.
can't beat him. But he's not this super aggressive. He's kind of like Vance in that way. He's got common sense and the way he presents himself on his side, you know?
I think Marco had a tendency to move a little more towards traditional Republican. He could have gone either way.
hmm
And because of Trump, because of everything that's happened the last 8, 9 years, whatever,
hmm
he is firmly now in the America First, Make
Yeah.
America Great Again
What I
mold.
like to what I like to believe about him, because I liked him. In fact, when Trump
He
first
was your
ran,
senator, right?
yes, but when he first ran, he ran against Trump in that 2016 in the primary.
Yeah.
Rubio is who I supported at that time.
Oh, you liked little Marco
Oh yeah, I
more than
mean,
Trump.
well, because Trump was like it's kind of like a sideshow at the time. You know what I mean? When he first came on the scene, it was like, okay, whatever. I'm a Florida girl. Marco
Trump's
Rubio,
a Florida
absolutely.
guy
But here's the thing, there are people who don't I know, but
now. I mean,
yeah. But like not in government. You know what I
right.
mean? But Rubio, there are a lot of people who don't like him. I um I have always believed that he loves the American dream. His whole story,
Yeah.
his dad was an immigrant. He loves the American dream. So I think that he could have, without Trump in the scene, without him like influencing our politics, he just would have marched along and been a traditional Republican.
Right.
But Trump's shaken it up. And the
He's
reason
changed everything.
oh yeah, and the reason that Rubio's landed in Trump's camp is because of how much Trump loves this country, how much he loves the US, what he wants for it. Like the American dream to Trump isn't about like the person. It's about the dream of what America can be. And
Yeah.
Marco Rubio, oh yeah, he's 100% on board with
I
that.
agree with you. I think same thing kind of happened with Vance because there's if you
hmm
look back at 16,
Yep,
Vance was like he didn't like Trump.
exactly.
Trump's the fashion. He might not have said that. I don't know
Yeah,
what he
whatever he
said
said about
exactly,
him.
but he
I think
wasn't
he
a
said
big
he was a
fan.
never, I think he said he was a never Trumper or
Yeah, and he
something.
just a lot of these guys they didn't know. They had these ideas and
Sure.
whatever. But I think Vance. Well, I know. I mean, I'd be shocked if Vance isn't 100% bought into Trump right now. He seems like he is, and
100%.
I believe that he is. And
Yep.
to be honest with you, I feel the same way about Marco.
Yep.
I think he's 100% bought into the Make America Great thing. I
I
think
think
you're
so
right.
too.
He could have been the traditional Republican, but I think Trump changed everything and Trump moved people.
hmm
And I think Trump also moved politicians and he moved Marco Rubio
hmm
to where Marco Rubio embraces what Trump's selling. He
Yep.
gets it. You know what I
He
mean?
gets it. Yeah. It's kind of like eyes are open. Eyes are wide open
And he's
and
kind of
they're on
provided
board.
that steel in the spine. That's what I really didn't think Marco had. And maybe he doesn't have it to be president. I don't know. But
Maybe
he
not.
certainly has it to be
Yeah.
backed up as Secretary of State or somebody, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? And maybe he
Mm-hmm.
does. I don't know him well enough.
Yeah, I don't know
That
either.
was what my concern with him was, is he wouldn't have the what it took to go after the deep state and stuff. But I will say I have been nothing but impressed with him as Secretary of State, and everybody
Yeah.
he's gone up against and the whole thing. It started to make me kind of change my mind on little Marco.
I'm
It
so
really
glad.
has.
Yeah, he's definitely on board and
Yeah, I'm
he's a
impressed.
he's a factual guy. He's well spoken and he knows what he's talking about. So,
Yeah.
spitting facts as they say, like there's no way to beat him when he does that. So good.
What about the economy? Has the media got you worried about the economy yet?
Oh, yeah, I do have to tell you. Can we take a
Oh yeah,
quick
let's take
break?
a quick break and we'll get
I'll
into
be
the
right back.
economy if I can find out how to. You back, Kara's perfect break.
Back. Perfect break.
I was just transitioning into the economy. Look at you go.
All that talk about
It's
Mexico,
like we're of the same mind.
I had to go. Oh gosh, if I'm of the same mind,
Then you're like, oh no, I'm quitting now.
I don't know if I can handle living in Todd's world 24/7.
It's a lot, let me tell you.
It's a lot. I appreciate being here though
Look
so
at
much.
my shirt. This is another Todd's
Oh
World
yeah,
shirt,
yeah. Let me
everybody.
see. This means war. Insurrection. This means war.
This
Oh my gosh.
means war. That's
Tell
actually
everyone about insurrection.
well, Insurrection's one of my series that I wrote. There's 2 seasons out so far,
Hmm.
and it was fiction, and it's an alternate reality of if Trump was killed right before the 2004 election, taken out. So the deep state succeeds in taking out Trump
2004.
2024, sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is the story of what comes after. And so there's a secret paramilitary group called Group Alamo that kind of arises and begins what amounts to an insurrection to take back their country.
Yep.
Or I guess they're engaging in the insurrection. The insurrection would have been the deep state taking out Trump to begin with. So,
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah, it's kind of the double meaning of insurrection.
but it's great. It really is. We put it
It's
out on. It's on. You can still get it on going through the old podcast. Uh,
just not
it-
on Apple right now. You can't
Apple's
trust the
unreliable for
order.
everything. I'm really thinking about just deleting everything and starting over on Apple.
It's a good idea.
I
Just
know
try
it
it.
sounds like a lot of work. Unless it automatically loads the episodes. See, that's what I got to find out.
Oh, that'd be
But if
cool.
I got to load every episode on Apple, holy moly!
Well, you know what? Then just delete everything and then just load what you want
Just go
when you
back.
want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eventually, I'm going to take those. I think Insurrection and Witness off of the maybe second
Mm,
season. Maybe I'll leave first seasons, and then I think as I go forward, I'm thinking real hard about transitioning into audiobooks on them. Still
okay.
putting a couple episodes out,
Yeah.
and then because I don't think the subscription thing was too much of a pain. It doesn't seem to work. Hard to get
Right.
people aren't there. That's fine.
But if you haven't listened or read it, Insurrection is very upsetting and inspiring.
People loved it, man.
I
The
know.
people that it was
You get
hard to get a
fired
lot
up.
of traction, but the
Yep.
people that listened loved it. Like, and Troy's been texting me since, like, when are you gonna pick up Insurrection again?
Not
So,
yet.
and I
Gotta
hope
wait.
to. I love it.
Gotta wait. We're doing big things here.
But this was more. This did harken back to Insurrection, but I put this
Yeah.
shirt on thinking of the conversation we just had about the courts, because I think this is
Yes.
a war between the branches, the
Yeah.
constitutional branches, and
Which,
kind of a resetting of things, which you need every once in a while.
I don't know that yeah, it makes me nervous. So I'm uncomfortable with,
I don't mean a resetting of the
I know,
Constitution,
I know, I know.
but
I was gonna say that word now,
just kind of a rejuggling of the,
Sure.
the power, more like what it should be, I think.
Right. I mean,
Under Lincoln, you basically had an executive that took almost dictatorial power.
mm-hmm.
And
And
apparently a lot of people
it
liked
worked
how
out
it
well.
went. I guess he turned it back over, or else they
It
just
worked out.
shot him in a theater. But one way or the
Yeah.
other, he certainly didn't seem
True.
like he planned on being some dictator that kept ruling for life or anything else. He seemed like, okay, I got reelected, and actually I will say about Lincoln that he did seem to really care about the South and about reconciling the country back into one. He didn't
Mm-hmm.
want there to be these lasting divisions
Right.
and Reconstruction, and he really wanted the country to be back as now. I suppose that's easy to say after you send a madman to burn a mile wide swath through the middle of it, but it's, what do I know? Really, what Lincoln did, what Sherman did that was a masterstroke in the Civil War, is
Yeah.
he started targeting plantation owners. He started burning down plantations.
Mm.
And so it was like it's the wealthy and the elite who really wanted this war, and it was all
Yes.
this, and not your average ordinary
Yeah.
Southerners. And so as that they were kind of cheering, and as the tide started turning, he started to go after the rich. That's
Mm-hmm.
always the way to get them,
It is. It's the way it goes, like with war today. It hasn't
Yeah.
even changed.
And that turned the tide
Yeah.
significantly for Grant. Grant turned the tide for Lincoln, and Sherman turned the tide for Grant. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And then you
Mm-hmm.
you ended up with
Yeah, I mean the regular people don't want it. Look at, same with Ukraine.
yeah. What are Patrick and
Okay.
Alexander just itching to run off to Ukraine and
Oh my gosh.
fight for their yellow and blue flag country? No,
Absolutely
nobody
not.
isn't.
Nobody is.
Oh, we talk about the
So,
economy.
yes.
Does the media have you scared yet on the economy?
Well, here's the thing. I work in a financial advisor's office.
Yeah,
And yeah, there are people freaking out.
freaking out.
Here's
What
what
are
I
you
hear.
hearing?
So it's funny because there's stuff I can't really share that I hear, but here's what I hear.
All right.
I hear people
You
nervous,
don't have to tell us names.
Right. But I mean, like
Account
Tesla
balances.
stock, for example, is dropped, 50%.
Yeah.
Everything's kind of diving. The market's diving. So
Hmm.
yes, people are nervous. However, there are financial like experts who are saying that although some of the things that Trump is doing are unconventional and things seem very, uncertain right now, they believe that long term his method is going to work.
Okay.
So, but then I follow Benny Johnson. Do you follow Benny Johnson
Yeah.
on anything? Yeah, I like him. He's really kind of cool,
I don't watch his
preppy.
show or anything.
Yeah,
I
he's
follow
a
him on
guy.
an X, and so
Yeah, I follow him on social media exactly. And he posted something recently about, cheap gas and cheap eggs, and I'm like, okay, that's not happening yet. So, Benny, I got to call you out. Like,
well, gas has gone down for the third straight week. It's at the lowest. Oil, I should say oil,
okay,
although it could be gas prices too, are at the lowest they've been since Biden took office in 2021,
okay.
which is
That is not
sub
happening.
three.
Not happening. Yeah. We
It's
saw
two
it dip
ninety nine.
we saw it dip below 3 for one day this week, back up to 330. We're at
Okay,
330. But eggs are practically unaffordable right now here.
eggs are back down to they were at, I think, almost $7 a dozen, and now whatever this means, it's some measure they
I
have.
know it
Okay.
feels like arbitrary. It's like, who's controlling the frickin' price of eggs?
And
Give me a
that
break.
has come down to under 5, and it's in a free fall. It turns out that when you
Okay.
stop mass murdering chickens,
Yeah,
you
what
get a
was
lot
with
more
the
eggs.
Oh my
It's weird.
gosh. It's
Weird how that
ridiculous.
works.
So the dozen and a half, I have to buy them at least a dozen and a half at a time.
Okay.
I live with two, like the three of us live here and we all eat eggs.
Okay.
A dozen and a half is like over $8
Is it?
for the cheap, non-fancy kind.
I feel like they're not as expensive here, but I'm
Ooh,
not reliable. Last time I bought them was at Costco, and I think it was eight
okay.
bucks for 2 dozen, but I'm not positive.
So I usually buy a box of 60.
Eggs.
We buy 60 at a time.
How long does it take you to go through 60 eggs?
I don't know. I've never really clocked it, but like maybe like
Less than a
three,
month?
3, 4 weeks. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fair
But
amount of eggs.
60 eggs used to be like $6 to $8.
Okay. And
And
now
now
it's
that
not.
box is 30.
That'll come down. I bet in 6 months I bet that'll be back.
Okay, but Benny's out there like cheap eggs, cheap, and I'm like, yeah, we're not seeing cheap eggs yet, mister. Like,
Benny's
don't
one
get
of
ahead of yourself.
Benny's one of what I would call the mega bros, like
Oh,
that
that's
like to
good. I'm
like
like, what do you,
tail
how do you
around with
classify
Trump.
him?
You know what I
He's a
mean?
mega
And they're
bro.
real into like being mega bros. They're real into like,
Yeah,
oh my God, I got an invitation to Mar-a-Lago.
Woo. I know.
Yeah, I
He's
get to meet Trump. Oh my God. And
he's
there's
an
a lot of
adult,
them out
but
there like
yeah,
that.
he's a mega bro. He's an adult, but he's a mega bro. Thank you. I needed a term for him. I don't know, didn't know how to
I will
classify
not
him.
be that. Even
It's,
when I'm famous, which will happen soon, I will not be a mega bro.
no,
Not
you're
that I wouldn't love
different.
to meet Trump and whatever, but I'm
Absolutely.
not
I'd love to
interested
go to
in.
Mar-a-Lago.
I like to keep my eye on the bigger picture that's going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I love Trump. Listen, I everybody knows I love Trump. I if I when I say this stuff about the FBI and the DOJ,
Hmm.
it isn't necessarily anything against Bondi or Cash or even Trump. It's just and you know what? If I was in Trump's position and I had
Hmm.
everything in front of me to look at, I might make the exact same decision and be like, I can't just shut it down, or it's going to cause chaos
Yeah,
for whatever reason. Um,
sure.
and so I
It's
got to
just the
try to
nature, it's
fix
the
it.
nature
You
of the
know,
beast. So, what do you think
I'm
about the
just
economy?
skeptical that it
What do
could
you
be
think?
fixed. Well, I got a few clips I want to play you.
Okay.
I'll give you my, but this is Scott Bessent, which I believe is either the Commerce or the Treasury Secretary. Could be Treasury, maybe Treasury.
Oh, I know this guy.
He's a gay guy,
Wait a minute.
which is weird because
Wait,
that's
say,
not like his. He's not like Mayor Pete's receiving hole where it's like the card that he leads with.
wait a
But he
minute.
is a gay guy,
I know this guy. This
older
guy
guy.
is really close with George Soros.
You sure?
Oh, yes. He's like, yeah, he managed Soros's hedge
Okay.
fund for a long time,
Really?
which I find, yes, I just was reading about him and I was like, this is a really interesting choice
Am I right that he's
for
Treasury
our
Secretary?
Treasury. I think it's Treasury. Yeah.
I'll look it
Yeah,
up
he's a
real
big
quick.
hedge fund guy, very smart. The Soros
Yeah, I
thing
knew he was a big hedge fund guy.
is a red flag to me, but then I think he knows him, but he likes him. So anyway,
Secretary of Treasury.
yep.
Yeah. So you're saying he's a okay. I don't
He
know. That's
used to
something
manage. He used to
that
manage.
wouldn't surprise me because I think that's you get up into the circles of those guys running in hedge funds and high finance and
It's
stuff, and
pretty
they start to
interesting.
get to be pretty small circles.
I mean, if anyone's going to be a mole, though, it's going to be this guy. So I hope they've got his whole office bugged.
So this is him talking to CNBC, and they're wondering if he's getting a little edgy
Okay.
about the markets.
It's
Okay.
another sort of turbulent day here. The volatility has really picked up. We're down another more than 3.5% for the week, almost 10% from the recent highs. I know that you guys have brushed this off, but I do wonder
Can you
if
hear
you're
it?
starting to get concerned now that these losses are picking
It's
up.
low.
Well, look, Sarah, what we're focused on is we're focused on the real economy. Can we create an environment where there are long-term gains in the market and long-term gains for the American people? I think, having been in the markets for 35 years, I know the market is prone to big unwinds like this. I think we've seen, a lot of position unwinding, and I can't really speak to that.
I guess, and this has been consistent with your view, but 62% of Americans own stocks. I mean, it's near 20-year high. So how can the White House not be concerned about hardworking Americans' 401k plans?
Look, Sarah, I didn't say we're not concerned. I'm not concerned about a little bit of volatility over 3 weeks, because if you look over the long term, the reason stocks are a safe and great investment is because you're looking over the long term. If you start looking at micro horizons, stocks become very risky. So we are focused over the medium long term, and I can't tell you that the market is going to go up today, tomorrow, next week. But I can tell you that if we put proper policies in place, it's going to lay the groundwork for both real income gains and job gains and continued asset gains.
Okay.
Yep.
So what do you think?
Exactly.
I hope that doesn't come out too low. Every time you think it's low, it sounds low on the recording.
Yeah.
And that was
so,
loud in my ears, so I don't
oh,
know
it
what.
was? Shoot. Okay. Yeah. I don't know.
We'll
So
see.
it
Hopefully you
was
heard it,
low.
guys.
It was low, but I could hear it as long as I wasn't like talking or anything.
His whole point was
So,
they're not worried about the stock market over
mhm.
a short term. It's going to
Exactly.
be volatile over 6, 8 weeks, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking at a long-term
Yeah.
thing, and they're trying to make long-term corrections.
And something I've learned working in this office also is that any election year, regardless of political party, um, yeah, anything, just any election year often causes volatility.
And certainly what Trump is doing with tariffs, and I mean,
Yes,
he's got so much.
that's really what's
There's
doing
no
it.
way for him not to come in here. I mean, everything. This is the thing that people have to remember: is everything that Trump has to do,
Hmm.
it's going to be unsettling to a certain extent
Right.
because we have so many problems
Yeah.
all over the.
He's shaking it up a bit.
Yeah. So, you know who
So
Lutnick is?
no.
Secretary Lutnick is the.
Mm-mm.
I believe he's the Commerce Secretary.
Okay.
And I think this is a pretty good clip of him. You'll recognize he's got a beard. You're going to recognize his voice when you hear it. You're
Oh,
going to be
okay.
like, oh, yeah, I remember that guy.
Okay.
But it sounds like you're saying, trust us. And are you worried that at some point Americans are going to feel like there's a bunch of billionaires in Washington who are playing Russian roulette with our retirement?
That's the media narrative.
$2 trillion deficits don't bother you at all. How could you ask me, while we're running a $2 trillion deficit, and not care? You're destroying the people who have run this country before, are destroying the future for my children and my children's children. I can't have a 50, 75. We have a $36 trillion deficit. And we used to run deficits of 400 billion. Now 2 trillion, everybody's like, who cares? I tell you what, who cares? Donald Trump cares. And when we balance the budget, you know what that means? That means our deficits stop. Interest rates come smashing down. His goal is to have external revenue. You know, the way I think about it, we all are so used to paying taxes. We're so used to it. We have like Stockholm syndrome. You know, don't stop the Internal Revenue Service, God forbid. How about this? The rest of the world leans on our economy, breathes off our economy. Not only is our economy $29 trillion GDP, but we consume $20 trillion a year. We are the buyer of everybody's stuff. We buy everybody's stuff. So who's more important, the people who sell stuff or the people who buy stuff? So we are the buyer of everybody's commodities, products, goods and services. Everything comes from us, right? Let them pay a membership fee. We all understand that model. Let them pay. How about we, you and I, and every single person we know pay less? How about no tax on tips? How about no tax on overtime? How about no Social Security? How about all those things? These are the kind of thoughts that will change America. I know what his goal is. No tax for anybody who makes less than $150,000 a year. That's his goal.
Oh, that's pretty big, right?
It
When's the
is
last time
big.
you heard that kind of talk come out of Washington?
Oh my gosh. Well, Washington doesn't like to talk about us not paying. I've had a shirt in an Amazon saved folder for a really long time, and I really think I need to get it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a taxation is theft shirt. Maybe maybe now's a good time to get it. So how I mean it'd be really exciting. Most of the I don't want to say most of the people I know. A lot of people I know make less than 150 a year.
And
A
they,
lot of people.
if you increase their net take-home pay by 30%, that or by 20%,
20, I was gonna say, yeah, 20 to
it would be
25.
big.
It'd be big.
Yeah.
Do you think it would change how employers pay their employees?
What do you mean?
Would it be, would, do you, someone made a joke, oh, it's just an excuse for employers to pay their employees less. I'm like, I don't think so. They're already paying them.
I don't think so because I think what's going to happen by Trump, I think all of these moves,
Hmm.
bringing back manufacturing, putting these tariffs on, making, you know, Trump wants to bring us back to that where the middle class is responsible for
Hmm.
about 50% of GDP. What that I can't remember her name,
Oh yeah, what
Unger or something.
Batia?
Batya, yeah. What she was talking about in that clip with Bill Maher. Trump wants to get us back to that.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's
I
really
think he
interesting.
will. I really do. I think that he's gonna now on the economy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm of a couple minds on it because
Okay.
we're seeing inflation start to dive. We're seeing we're just seeing there's some mixed messages. It's true that the market is
Okay.
jittery.
Sure.
The market is a
It's to be
primary
expected.
source of wealth for about 8% of Americans.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's possible. I read this and I don't know if I read this exact thing or if I'm putting together a few different things that I
Okay.
read.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't give credit to anybody because I don't remember where it was. It wasn't anything I saved. But
Okay.
they talked about how they think that with tariffs and everything else, Trump is going to intentionally crash the economy in the market
Ugh.
and in order to get interest rates down,
I think that's horrible.
especially, and then rebuild it back up. And what it will amount to is it will be the way they described it, and I'm not going to do a good job of it because I don't have it in front of me, but
Mm-hmm.
it would be the ultimate migration of wealth from the rich down to the middle class. It's going to be a wealth redistribution,
I don't like the
almost
idea
like
of
COVID was, except it went
redistribution.
the other way.
I don't like the idea of a redistribution. I'm okay
Well,
with there being
you already
wealthier
suffered
people.
one though. Remember what was her name? Batya? Remember
Yeah.
what she was talking about at the beginning? There already has been
Mm-hmm.
a significant wealth
Right,
distribution.
but over like several decades.
But COVID was big. I
Yeah.
mean, COVID was a massive relocate I of the sort that I don't think we still have our hands around because I'm not sure we have all the information yet to be able to make that call. We're still
So
a little close.
let me clarify what it is you're describing because I'm hung up on it. I'm not even going to be able to think. You're not talking about redistributing wealth from the wealthy to the middle class. You're talking
No,
about redistributing like the country's how do I say this?
wealth. The GDP
Like
wealth.
incoming, yes, like the
Yeah.
existing, like the our like
I don't mean through
in our
taxes or
commerce,
anything.
like in our commerce and such.
Right.
That's what you're talking about.
Yeah. I'm talking
Okay,
about a
thank you.
market shift that takes a chunk of this and shifts it back down to the middle class by increasing
Sure.
manufacturing, by all of
Okay.
these things. And that's what happened during
I love
COVID
that.
is they had a market shift through government intervention that went the other way.
Mm-hmm.
They closed down small businesses. They did this, but the
Yes.
Home Depot's open and all the
Mm-hmm.
billionaires are getting wealthy because you can get
Yep.
Amazon, you get all these things.
Right.
So to me, market intervention that shifts it back, again, it's a necessary correction. It's a remedy to something that we've already dealt with.
But I don't like the idea of crashing the market because then you're hurting people who have invested and who are living off that, who have done everything
Well, when
wisely.
I say crash the market, we're not
Yeah.
talking, I don't mean completely.
Okay. Okay.
I'm talking like a correction
A correction.
that because of tariffs and
Okay.
everything else
Yep.
just kind of reorients things. Do you know
Okay.
what I mean? I
Yes.
expect that once, and that's why it's so important to think of the market in a long-term sense, is
Mm-hmm.
that I expect once that shift were to take place, that
Mm-hmm.
then the stock market would roar forward even faster. You know what I mean? That's what you saw
Oh, I
during
think
the
so.
80s. And
Right,
then
because we talked about how what would happen to our economy would explode in a beautiful way if our income tax were eliminated.
I think
My
in a free
gosh.
market society, in a capitalistic society, especially one if you had some kind of a pure form of it, not that we ever do. I mean,
Right.
we're
Yeah.
never free of government intervention anywhere.
Right.
But if you, it would the natural progression of wealth seems to always be migrating toward the top.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's one of the downfalls. The problem is nothing else fixes it. Socialism, communism, nothing fixes. They do see a legitimate problem
Mm-hmm.
within capitalism, but they don't have any answers for it. You
Okay.
know what I mean? Because
Yes.
every answer they have only causes more problem and more poverty and more misery for the middle and lower classes every
Yeah.
time. So they don't have an answer to it. But the answer, I think, would be that's where your government intervention, in other words, don't do something like COVID where you shift it even harder, where you accelerate the migration of wealth to the wealthy. Um,
Yeah.
if the government's gonna push the other way.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Because that broader base is gonna give you a more durable economy, and it's gonna keep growing, just like we saw during the '80s. It's still gonna, even if that shift temporarily gets you back to a larger margin of GDP in the middle class. Once that economy's roaring, it's gonna start migrating the other way. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like it's
Yes.
just how it goes because the
Yeah.
market is gonna follow, and if the economy is taken off on a real durable foundation, I mean,
Hmm.
there's not a the sky's the limit for the market. You might go through a rough year, but man, on the
Right.
back end, that market's gonna follow this economy.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? I actually think right now it's skewed and it isn't. I think it's skewed a little high from a variety of different things.
Right.
Maybe government intervention,
Well,
just a lot of different
it's
things.
shocking that the deep state would have like been trying to help out the wealthy,
I know
as you know,
it's
in the
amazing, right?
country. It's amazing. I'd like to see that model that they showed in the private meetings.
But I actually don't expect. I'm not even sure that the pain that they talk about that we're going to experience. We Trump is doing some things on the other end. He's
Hmm.
really pushing for oil production, and like I said last week, if you start to get if you get oil gas under $2 a gallon, I mean,
Yeah. Oh my
this
gosh.
Trump is going to
Even
do everything he
close,
can to pull the brakes off this
even
thing.
close to two, I'd be excited.
I mean, he's going to do everything he can. I
Yeah.
really think that in Trump's world, he'd like to see the stock market taken off again this summer. I don't know, if that's possible or
It'd be
who
cool.
knows.
Yep.
But it's not like it's completely off his radar. I just think he's looking at it as a series of moves
Yeah.
to kind of redistribute things back, to get the distribution of wealth back to something that's more durable. Because if you keep it like this is what puts you into
Yeah.
like the French Republic, or the when they
Right.
had
Well, I was
the
going to say we might as well be socialist if you just have all this, like this whole tier of
right.
wealthy people controlling the majority of the GDP, which is what that Batio is saying, correct?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, you have them controlling the majority of it. The rest of us are just trying to survive, and you can't get ahead that way. And that's how you end up with these huge divides, the divides in the classes.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
And in the end, that will end up. Now it can take a while, but it
Hmm.
will end up with the peasants on the
Oh, yeah.
elite steps with their torches and their pitchforks.
It will absolutely be the haves and the have-nots.
That's where this
And
story goes, and
yeah,
they will
if you let it
tear
keep
you
going.
apart.
Yeah.
Just ask the
Well,
Russian czars.
sure. And, the Nancy Pelosi's and her, investment groups are are fine with that
Well, they're
because they're
fine
the
with that
ones.
until they're at their door.
Yeah,
And
that's what I mean. They're
that's
fine
what
with it
will
right
happen.
now. They're
They
fine with it right now.
the elites think that they can manage it. They think that
Yeah.
that's unrest they can manage, and they're
Hmm.
wrong. That
Yep.
unrest will devour them in the end.
Yep.
If
There
it
are a
doesn't
lot of
devour
people.
them, it'll devour their kids.
Well, yeah, and we're also like there are more people than they realize. We're
Hmm.
not a little European country.
No.
We're giant. We might have Canadians on
And
our
we all
side
have
soon.
guns.
And we all have guns. I know. Oh my gosh. One of my sons brought that up yesterday. I think it was shoot. Oh, I hate it when I can't remember which one I had the conversation
They
with.
look the same.
I know, I feel so bad. Anyway, but we were talking about that and how it would have been the perfect opportunity. Yeah, it was Patrick. Patrick was saying, I can't believe that in the last 4 years we weren't like invaded. If Russia, here's what he said, if Russia, this is a Gen Zer, if Russia wanted to invade us, that would have been the perfect time. Would have been during Biden's administration.
Yeah,
And I said, yeah, I said they would have been in for a rude awakening when they realized how many Americans are armed.
true.
He was like, true. They would have been like, retreat, retreat.
Well,
So,
we're a big. It's
yeah,
really hard to overcome those two big oceans. That's like a
that's true.
that's some real heavy insulation.
That's true.
Now
Yeah.
they could bomb us. That's a different thing. But as
Yeah.
far as invading us,
He's talking about invading.
that's
Yeah.
that's a steeper hill to climb.
True. I
Really, you've
know.
got to start that with a bombing, meaning you've got
Yep.
to soften up your target. Well, the problem
Yep.
is that we've still got more nukes than Russia. And so they can't start that without us
Yeah.
coming back. And then it's that mutually assured destruction thing.
True.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I wonder what the cartel thinks about the number of
Well, that's their way of softening things up was to exploit the Biden and the globalist open border and just send.
Yeah.
I don't even think to say exploited it. I'll be honest. I think they paid for it. I think they paid
sure.
for the privilege.
Yeah.
I think that our government and our elites and our bureaucracy opened up that government or opened up that border wall and put all of us at risk for no other reason than money and power.
Well, and they might have bought some artwork from Hunter at some point.
I hear that market's dried up for Hunter. Do you hear that? He's struggling a little.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh no, that's
Apparently his artwork, the market just slipped right out from under him. I don't know.
tough. Wow, the art world is fickle. When your dad isn't vice president or president anymore.
Your art isn't worth as much. It's weird.
You know, it's kind of strange.
So how about a little Bernie Sanders to take us out?
Gosh.
We got to feel the burn a little.
Okay.
You know, he's always got good points to make.
Do you see America moving to a kleptocracy where, people have loyalty oaths if you want to get a job in the civil service?
Boy, it's
where, pay money, you get access.
Well, look, you got,
It keeps glitching.
Oh, shoot.
During Trump.
So let's start it over, see if that may.
Start it over.
Access.
Well, look, you got, during Trump's inaugural, as you know, the three guys
What in
the
the
country.
why? Sometimes that does it. You know, and
glitchy?
and I don't know why. Let's try to. Sorry, guys, technical difficulties on the
This is,
wildly opinionated
hey,
news hour.
This happens,
Do you see America moving to a kleptocracy where, people have loyalty oaths?
Sorry.
If you want to get a job in the civil service.
Where'd he go?
Where, pay money, you get access.
Well, look, you got, during Trump's inaugural, as you know, the three richest guys in the country, Musk, Bezos, and Zuckerberg were there, and right behind them were 13 other billionaires who Trump had nominated to head major government agencies. So I would say, without any doubt,
why would we want
have a
successful
government
people
right now.
trying to run
Lincoln
things?
talks about a government of the people, by the people, for the people. I think it's fair to say you have a government today of the billionaires, by the billionaires, and for the billionaires.
Well, see, you got it.
I've never heard Bernie say anything against those three billionaires before they were backing Trump.
They
Well, I
like
say
billionaires when they're on
backing.
their side.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Of these onesies.
I'm supportive of vaccines.
Are you supportive of these onesies?
I'm supportive of vaccines.
Are you supportive of these onesies?
I'm supportive of vaccines.
Are you supportive of these?
I was laughing last week at that.
Are you
militantly anti-vaccine?
militantly?
I'm supportive of vaccines.
Wow.
Are you supportive of these onesies?
It never gets old. I could just have it on a loop.
Oh my gosh. That's funny.
We are a nation of the billionaires, by the billionaires, and for the billionaires.
Okay.
You know what I think they go after billionaires for? Because now in Congress, everybody's a millionaire anymore.
Right.
Look at Jasmine Crockett. So
Oh, I know.
you don't have to be there long to be a millionaire.
Her acting career has just taken off.
So now they're going after the billionaires. Because I guess maybe there aren't that many billionaires in Congress yet. They aren't getting paid enough, I don't think, for all they do.
Could
for their
be.
service to our country.
Oh my gosh.
Bernie Sanders, he's out there looking out for the little people with his
Yeah,
four
Bernie.
houses and his 7 cars and his private planes. That's fine though. I
It's
wrote a
pretty
book.
funny.
I wrote a book. Do you support these onesies? Wait, do you?
I love that he's a socialist with multiple homes, and it's really interesting.
Oh, they all
We know what side he's going to be on. If socialism ever takes root, we know where Bernie's going to be.
Yeah. So that was good. I did have one more. What was my Rogan thing? I feel like I had something with Rogan and
Oh,
Elon up here.
oh, that's
Is this
cool.
it?
Is it recent or is it from
Well,
them
I got
talking a
this.
long
This is
time
pretty
ago?
interesting. There's still all these. The world is falling, like the sky is falling every
Mm-hmm.
time a government employee gets fired. It's amazing. Out here in the real world, people have been losing their jobs for
Oh, I
decades,
know.
and the
I
media
know.
never even knew it.
I know.
But now, every single time that a
Yeah.
government employee, they're just like, "Oh, all I was trying to do." Here's one.
Angry? Are you
Are you
worried?
angry?
How is this sitting with you?
Well, she just lost her job. What do you mean?
I am definitely angry because I don't understand why I and my colleagues have been targeted for just doing our jobs. Our jobs are protecting the American public and their nation's students. So it's very frustrating to not only have to endure the demeaning emails and ridicule that we're
The demeaning emails of name 3 things you accomplished last week.
Is that what the email said? So I saw jokes.
That was from Musk. Yeah, and that was what he said.
Okay.
He was like, "Well, what'd you do last week?"
Oh my gosh, I saw a joke about that, but I didn't know what it was based on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the email from Musk that said name.
Yeah. No, that's all he said. He said, "Please list 3 things you accomplished last week." And so we're
Okay.
talking bullet points.
Okay,
I mean,
yeah.
I assume it could have been, who knows, logistics for whatever. I don't know, all the different
Right.
things. But that people were just up in arms. The
They thought
government
that was
employees were
Stevie.
up in arms.
They
Why
thought it
should
was
you ask us what
demeaning.
we're doing? Billionaire,
What are you doing,
autistic
billionaire?
billionaire.
Did you just call him an autistic billionaire?
That's what they call them. They're real mad at him now.
Wow.
They're burning Teslas. They're doing everything.
Oh my gosh. Hey, we didn't talk about the hack at all.
What hack?
So I heard that X and Tesla got hacked last week. It was a cyber attack. It was pretty
There
brief.
was
I
a
think it
big
was
cyber
on
attack. I noticed
Wednesday,
that.
maybe? Was it
Yeah.
on Wednesday? Yeah.
Elon said that what do they call them? That's what's a tech thing, like an IPN. I don't know.
Oh,
It's
it's
something that identifies things.
yeah, it's the
I'm mixing it up. I don't know.
oh my gosh.
I could barely play a video on a podcast.
Shoot, I feel so stupid, but I do think it's
But that
those
those were they were popping out of Ukraine, or they
Yep.
were coming up with Ukraine, whatever.
Yep.
I don't know.
Oh my gosh. They were able to stop it apparently.
Yeah, I noticed some interruption for a few hours. I noticed for 3 or 4 hours that things were real buggy, and then things got better after this. Here is Elon. This is quick 23 seconds on Rogan.
Okay.
Yeah. They're already telling them, so in New York State, illegal aliens can already vote in state and city elections. A lot of people don't know that. I mean, they're trying to fight that, and they're trying to stop that, but they're currently, I think it's like 600,000 are registered to vote, illegal aliens in New York.
That is wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the whole point is that
Over 500,000.
that the Democrats' whole scheme, which we've known, we've been talking about it while it's been happening, but the whole scheme was they opened the border because they're importing voters.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all. And now they're mad because Trump is deporting their future Democrats.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and of course.
They have a big base in the cartels. The cartels vote almost straight ticket Dem.
Yeah, I would think so. I would think most of those in New York would vote Dem also. You know, they've been given their rents paid for. They've been given phones and debit cards, prepaid debit cards.
And that's all ended. People are self-deporting now. Did you see that?
Yeah, what's up with the self-deporting? Why
Well,
would someone
they-
self-deport?
Because well, first of all, they don't just show up when you're left the gas station. I mean, you can plan it for one thing. And secondly, you can get back in. You can apply for whatever. I mean, they may not be doing it right now, but after whatever the moratorium is, if they catch you and they deport you, it's a 20-year ban. So if you have people here and if you want to get here, it makes sense to go back and then make your plea rather than get caught. Does that make sense?
Sure.
And then try to get back legally.
Okay.
Just come in the right way. So
there you go.
and hopefully
Is
this
it working? Do we know like how many have done it, or
I
do we have
don't.
any stats? I haven't heard anything about it. I heard the concept mentioned, but I haven't heard any data yet.
Yeah, I don't know that. It's kind of early, so I
Okay.
don't know if we have any yet, quite honestly. I was looking to see if I had anything, but I don't think. This was at this is really good. There's did you know that there is a trans representative, a United States congressional representative from where's she from? Him. Where's he from? I can't.
Is this
Delaware.
the one they were calling congressman and it's a
This is
woman?
this is
It's
at
like
a
he thinks he's a
congressional
woman.
hearing. This is at a hearing.
Okay.
We'll hear what they have to say.
The representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ranking Member Keating, also wonderful.
Mr.
I'm
Chairman,
sorry.
Uh-oh.
could you repeat your introduction again, please?
He's real upset.
Yes, it's a.
This is
I'd like to
Representative
stand
Keating.
on the floor of the House, and I'm simply.
What is that standard, Mr. Chairman? Would you repeat what you just said when you introduced a duly elected representative from the United States of
In
America?
a dress.
Please.
She had a dress on.
The representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
She must be a woman.
Mr. Chairman, you are out of order. Mr. Chairman, have you no decency?
Have you no decency?
I mean, I've come
Where's
to
your
know you a little
dress?
bit, but this is not decent.
We will continue this.
You
hearing.
will not continue it with me unless you introduce a duly
Hell
elected
no!
representative the right way.
This hearing is adjourned.
I like how they just adjourned. I like how they're like, we're not doing this today.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman. She's dressed just like a woman. Look at her. How do
But I
you
love how
know?
they just adjourned. The first time I watched that, I was just listening and I thought that it was edited. But when I watched it, I'm like, they really did just say, you know what?
All
We're
right,
done.
Mr. McBride.
I mean, I feel bad. I feel bad.
You
for
feel
these,
bad for who?
I feel bad for these confused people. I really do. But sorry, I just have to laugh because I have a lot going on. So I just feel like there are bigger problems in real life.
You think so?
Yep.
This will make you feel better.
I came out to my mom at age 4.
Dylan
as a girl,
McVaney.
And,
Oh my gosh,
and what did it say?
Mulvaney.
I said, I think God
I can
made a
hardly
mistake
hear
and put
Dylan,
a
the
boy
actor.
or a girl into a boy's body.
Oh, hold
and,
on.
You know, she said God doesn't. But
Oh no,
you know, a
is
number of
this
years later,
Dylan on
we made
on
it to where we needed
Drew
to be.
Barrymore's
But
show?
I want them to know that
No.
we are not
Okay, good.
monsters. We are not.
She's not monsters. You're right. That's too. They remember I told you when we got a low clip, we got to bail because otherwise, when we put it out, we can't hear it.
Yeah, it's
Every
really
time we
low.
do it, and I try to push through, I can't hear it when I'm listening, and there's
Yep.
no point.
So Dylan is telling his story about how he came out to his mom.
Yes.
He's like,
Did you
"Mom,
watch? You listen to this?
I want to be an actor
Mm-hmm.
and I want to be a female actor and I want to prance around in bike shorts in the woods and talk about my period."
Imagine.
That must have been a really tough conversation, Dylan.
It all seemed to come together.
You know what I kind of respect? I kind of respect that Dylan has kept his male name. You know why he has? Because he's an actor and
Is it
he
because
wants,
Dylan can go either way?
I don't know of any.
Aren't there Dylan chicks?
I've never heard that. Are
Am
there?
I crazy?
Am I crazy?
I thought there was an actress named Dylan something, but I could be. Maybe I'm insane.
I thought it was just a guy's name.
Maybe you're right.
But I mean, he's an actor. I feel like this is like the role of his life, playing this girl prancing around in the woods.
And you know, as performance
ridiculous.
art, it
Yeah.
makes it makes some sense. Like he's a good actor, is my point.
He's a good actor. Yeah.
He does a girl pretty well.
Well, so when he's talking the way that clip, like if he's in an interview, but if you watch him prancing in the woods, there's nothing less female authentic than Dylan dancing around talking about his period. It's really bad. I guarantee
That doesn't
you,
seem authentic to you.
no, I guarantee you that no young girl has ever filmed herself dancing around outside in a tank top and bike shorts clapping like a ridiculous circus act, like
Like a
you know,
seal.
like a seal talking about her period. Like I got my period.
Now, I'm going to
It's
play.
day 23 of being a girl. Like, have you seen that shit?
Oh, so
It's
stupid.
ridiculous. Nothing less authentic than that.
This is kind of interesting. This is Danica you remember Danica Patrick
Oh yeah.
and Tommy Loren. Tommy Loren is a conservative blonde.
Yeah. Know her.
She's
Yep.
on Fox, right?
She's like a contributor. Yeah.
She's on
She does
Outkick.
her,
She's on
does
Fox.
her own stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty famous, right?
Yes.
And she has I think this is her show on Outkick called Fearless or something. I'm not positive, but she has Danica Patrick on. You know who Danica
Okay.
Patrick is?
Yeah.
Race car driver.
NASCAR. Is she a
She went from
Formula One or is she NASCAR?
I think she went from Formula One to NASCAR.
Okay.
And then maybe back. Hey, she's
Okay.
retired now.
Okay.
She dated Aaron Rodgers, I think, for a while.
Oh.
Green Bay quarterback.
That's a nice
But anyway,
couple,
she
kinda.
over the last election started supporting Trump.
Yes.
Kind of came out as a conservative, and of course, Tommy Loren has always been a conservative.
Mm-hmm.
But this is their particular. They have a little different take on Representative Mr. McBride.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So I think maybe it's worth hearing their take. Let's
Is
see what they have to
McBride
say.
the one in the dress?
Yes.
Okay.
Representative Dick in a dress. Oh wait, that's Liz Cheney.
There is a representative who is transgender. Sarah McBride was purposely
That's
referred
Tommy.
to as
Yes.
Mr., and it's getting a lot of traction. I feel like it's mean-spirited to do it just to be mean. Now, that doesn't mean that I want transgender people in women's sports or women's spaces, because that has an actual physical, tangible impact.
Like I'm still learning the characters in politics right now. I'm like, oh, it does look like a girl. So, obviously there's been a transition made. It's a lot different than when someone's at a cafe and it's a guy with a beard and a mustache and clearly a man, but then has a skirt on and lipstick, and you're like, want to be called a girl. It's like, that is very difficult to understand. And this is reaching. This is attention. This is reaching. This isn't fair.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's inappropriate. I think, look, this is clearly looks like a woman. And it was done twice.
Okay.
They didn't sound in disagreement to me.
You don't think so? What do you think about what they said? No, they weren't disagreeing with each other.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
They were disagreeing with the Republican who called a man Mr.
Well,
man-
they have a point. Now, I haven't seen, or I watched the video, but I just didn't care enough to be clear on who was who. But I think I know who McBride was.
Mhm.
Long dark hair, like dark hair to the shoulder, maybe.
Yeah,
A floral dress on.
maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, some kind of a dress. Glasses.
I feel like I get what they're saying. Is the person just trying to make a point? Is this getting in the way of them doing their job? I don't know. It's kind of like, did you have to do that? But I agree. If you got some dude with a beard wearing lipstick and a dress with hair on the chest, I'm sorry. No,
That's different.
I feel like it's different.
So you agree with Danica?
I do a little bit.
You think it was mean-spirited?
I don't, it appears from the little clip we saw, it appears that it could have been mean-spirited.
See, that's why I ask you.
Yeah.
Because you're a woman. There's nothing wrong with being a woman, but women process things differently.
Yep.
I heard that clip and I thought there wasn't a single piece of any of that made any rational sense at all. Like, that was one of the dumbest things I've ever heard two people try to say, because the whole point is it depends on how attractive you are to me. That's
Wait,
that's what this
Tommy and
comes down to.
Danica? Is that what you're
Yes.
talking about?
Like, there is no difference between those two people except that one's a better actor and better at makeup. I don't understand this idea. There's no difference. They're the same thing.
Okay,
What do you
here's
mean,
the difference.
because they put in a little bit more effort?
Okay, here's the difference. The representative appears to be living a lifestyle that is like he is all in. He's all in as this woman in a dress.
But you don't have any idea that the guy with the beard isn't. He just might be hairier by nature than Mr.
Get yourself
McBride.
waxed, sir. You can't walk
Do you
can't walk around with a beard and chest
Do you
hair
understand the
and
sheer craziness of this
expect
position?
people in the cafe to call you she. That makes no sense.
So your
It's
entire
all
position
about the
is
hair,
they
Todd.
need to dress up. They need to do a good enough job and
Yep.
take their masquerade seriously enough. And then we, as a society, in order to not be mean-spirited,
Yeah.
need to respect all the effort they put in. Now, let's understand just how sliding of a scale that would be.
Yeah.
It would be
It's pretty tough.
impossible.
I get it. But I think seriously, I think that's a valid question. How far are you going to take the masquerade? And if you're not taking it far enough that someone could mistake you for, then you're probably just attention seeking and you're not actually trying to like live your life this way.
My position is that it makes zero difference how committed the mentally ill are to their particular mental illness.
Okay.
That as a society, with children, with a common morality, it's incumbent upon us to stand up for reality, to not promote mental illness and then claim those that call real things real are mean-spirited. That to me is just it's just feeding into the crazy.
Okay, Todd, let's say, I think what you're saying, I'm trying to prove your point.
Okay.
Okay. Let's say that representative believed himself, to be Jackie Onassis.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You're saying it would be like them having to address her as Jackie Onassis.
Yeah.
Representative Onassis.
There's no benefit to society by feeding into mental delusions.
Yeah.
And yet that's what we've tried to do.
My reaction before this, Jackie O analogy is just, it just comes from like trying to be kind.
That's where I think they're at. I don't think I think they're coming at the same place.
I'm surprised Tommy was like that.
It actually reinforces something that I think, but I don't say very much, which is that men are far better suited to leadership positions in civic affairs than women because women are too empathetic. Now, that is a fabulous quality and about the most important quality you can have if you're nurturing a family and contributing to a society and teaching kids and all these things and like being the back thing for a family. It's everything that men miss.
There are all kinds of areas. It's a fabulous quality.
But it's in things like this, and this is in things like war, like the Ukrainians that they and I'm not saying this is all women. That isn't my point.
No,
my only point is that natural empathy is so strong that it simply clouds at times their better judgment in things.
Okay.
And in their desire to not be mean-spirited, that's, I think, why there's such a benefit with a mom and a dad, right? With like the nuclear family. With like the way God designed it. Like it makes so much sense because
I get it.
In the areas that women are weak, men are strong. I know that every relationship's different and every man and woman are different, but to some extent we have to talk in some generalities. And that's why they complement each other so well. And that when things go like God designed, it's just like, man, that's the way this machine was meant to run.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's how this show runs.
Yeah. And when that empathy what we just saw with Tommy and Danica was that empathy run amok.
Sure. I guess.
And they undermine themselves. Like if you take that to anything resembling logical conclusions, you kill yourself on every level. Well, then what about the basketball guy or the dude who's playing volleyball knocking chicks out on it? What if he just does his makeup a little better?
And you know what? Was it Tommy who said that she
doesn't like that.
She doesn't. Yeah, I was gonna say she does draw the line when it comes to like safety or whatever. But
How about we draw the line where God drew the line? That's all I'm saying. How about we decide God makes people and he made them
yeah,
male and female and probably knew what he was doing.
how about we draw the line where science draws the line?
And he gave us, I mean, pretty clear signs. We know what to look for.
Sure, it's kind of obvious.
We're just like, what's under that dress? Oh, Mr. McBride.
Oh gosh, and cutting it off does not a woman make.
No.
Yeah.
I'm glad we talked about that. That was one of those clips that didn't go through. So as I'm going through my stuff, I'm not seeing
and
it.
you found it.
And yeah, so
that's good.
because when I saw that was probably Wednesday. I don't know what day it was this week. And I was like, Carrie and I have to talk about that because I got to see if I'm right. And if her empathy kicks in right away.
My
and she
empathy
thinks, yeah,
kicked in.
he's
It
kind of
really
a pretty
did.
man.
So, and it's funny because, oh my gosh, what's funny is I saw the clip that you played of the congressional hearing or whatever.
Yeah.
And was like rolling my eyes and I moved on. Like I had very little empathy for Representative McBride. But then after hearing the women talk about it, yeah, my empathy kicked in for sure.
And this is out here. I mean, this is the kind of thing that, we've got to, as a culture, we're dealing with this trans thing and we've got to have the conversations.
I'm not being defensive. I get it, but I hear what you're saying too.
And I'm glad they put it out there. I'm glad because them both Tommy and Danica, they're representing what might be a decent sized group of MAGA women.
Yeah, true.
And to the extent they are, we need to help them. That's not the road. You're going to undermine yourself at every pass.
Yeah, they need to spend some time with some MAGA bros.
They need some Todd's World.
They do.
So anyway, that's what's going on, Carrie. What do you think? We did okay?
I think we did great.
Yeah.
We covered a lot of ground.
I think so.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good show.
It was.
You were all worried because you've had a busy week.
Yeah.
But I thought you did great.
Thank you.
I think
you did great as usual.
All our listeners appreciate you, Carrie.
Oh, I'm glad. I appreciate that.
Daryl tells me I just yell over you. I'm like, what are you talking about? Oh,
Daryl, thank you for your empathy.
Daryl's probably on your side. He's probably like, yeah, that's a real pretty man. Maybe we should
look under the dress,
Daryl.
Look under the dress.
That's what America has to do. That's a good point. Like America to deal with this trans epidemic.
Yep.
All we have to do is look under the dress.
Look under the dress.
It'll solve it all right there.
Things will become quite clear very
Even
quickly.
when they try to change things, it's like a horror show. You're gonna know the difference.
Yeah, I think it'd be a pretty sobering moment. I think it'd be a pretty sobering moment.
I know what you did last summer. Whoa.
Terrible. Oh gosh. Anyway.
All right, guys. Check us out on the socials. Share clips. Tell your friends about us.
Please.
Listen to Beers with Jesus tomorrow. It's going to be, I think, a really good one this week. It's tough. Crucifixion we're talking about. We're coming up on Easter, and
we all need each other.
Point, so
we need each other through it. So please do that.
And then get on toddsworld.net. Check out my books on Amazon. You've got 9 Mile Point is the new novel that just came out. And I swear to God that I'm going to do something that promotes that if I can ever figure out how.
You will.
To promote a novel in a world that is governed by 30-second video clips. I can do the 30-second video clips pretty good, which, by the way, I think TikTok is finally done with me. Isn't that exciting?
You think so?
Well, what they did
You're
is...
too gory and violent.
They make all of my videos over 18 because of violence and gore. And then they've throttled me down now. It used to be where I was 800 or 900 pretty consistently. Now they've throttled me down to about 100. They just don't let them go anywhere. They just said, you don't get any to go anywhere. And I said, okay. So I'm focusing more on X. I don't know about YouTube, but yeah, X, Spotify, Substack,
Yeah.
Rumble. I'm starting to put things on Rumble if anybody likes to watch on Rumble.
Okay, if you're on there, I better go subscribe.
So, all right, guys, thanks for joining us. We will catch you next week. Thanks, Gary.
Keep fighting the good fight, Todd.
Keep looking under the dress, America. I know it's a lot to ask, and I know you're going to see things you don't want to see, but, we got to fix this country.
We
We got to
really
make
do.
America great again. All right.
Amen.
See you guys.